Try not to make it too long.
Don't lie.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the greatest event happening right now in the world, in the United States of America, actually. My name is Richard Nwokoro, the big little brother of the groom, and now the brother of the bride now. Now I have another sister to protect. I'd like to thank my brother Peter for making me his best man, because if he hadn't, he was gonna have to answer to Big Brother. It's amazing to stand here looking at Peter and Kelsey and realize, wow, you know, my little brother's married. Any older siblings in here with married younger siblings know the feeling. This guy who is just eating his boogers and jumping out of trees as a Power Ranger 20 years ago has found the life of his dreams. Peter growing up was shy and a little quiet until we found out what wrestling was. This gentle giant you guys see now was putting wrestling moves on everybody he saw, including yours truly and a few of the groomsmen. I won't say any names at this point or point them out. Eventually, he had to grow up and with the help of and guidance of New Life Church, became a man. The guy I would always protect as a kid became an adult at the blink of an eye. As some of you know, Peter lost his father to cancer when he was 6. So to get the man that we have here, you know, intelligent, loving, strong, and most of all educated, it feels like a dream for most of us who have watched him grow. Peter, you know, in love, like, man, as a big brother, I was just like, wow. It was like, you know, her name is Kelsey, and I met her in church. And, you know, I'm always, you know, cautious, you know, for my brother, you know, because love, as we all know, can be a very interesting thing. After meeting Kelsey, I now see why. Kelsey loves, and she loves hard. She cares about everything. She works with children, and I see why. There's just some people in this world who have the passion that she has for the people that she loves. I remember when I first met her and Peter introduced me, the first thing I thought was, you know, wow, like, she talks fast. You know what I'm like, man, hey, I guess that's the Massachusetts in her. I didn't know.
No, that's just Kelsey.
Oh, it's just Kelsey. I was like, man, I gotta keep up, man. I cannot slack, you know. My wife Amanda, my son Jackson, and me, we grew to love her in no time. Like, it took no time at all. I mean, after meeting, you know, Kim and Heather, Frank, like, I see where it all comes from. You guys are amazing. Y'all are lovable people. Like, y'all haven't met them. Y'all need to just see them. And my mother as well. When y'all get the chance, just, you know, say hi to them. You'll see what I'm talking about. I take a great deal of pride knowing Peter found such an amazing package in a wife. I love you both so much, and I look forward to the amazing journey ahead. And with Jesus Christ in your lives, the days will only get better and better. Let's raise a toast to the marriage of Peter and Kelsey Nwokoro. Love you guys. Everybody enjoy your evening. Evening. You're here.
When I was 18 months old, God gave me a really incredible present. I'm sure I wasn't completely aware at the time, or even for several years after her arrival, but being a big sister to Kelsey, Jean Frank, now Nwokoro, has truly been one of my life's greatest gifts. Looking around at everyone here today, I'm overcome by the love and joy reflected in each of your faces because of this beautiful, gorgeous couple. Many of you today have been home away from home for my little sister, and for that, her whole Massachusetts clan is so thankful. When Kelsey decided to move down to Arkansas over 7 years ago, many people in her life assumed that it would be a temporary relocation, a short escape so that she could experience all the South had to offer. Washita soccer season and late night bonfires, which I attended, and the lovely accent, which she of all people knows I'm not so crazy about. But then, when she had tasted her fill, she would return to the icy weather and the not quite icy, more reserved personalities of the North. I think many people assume this, but I think those of us who know Kelsey best had our doubts of any permanent return, at least not for several years. Maybe later on? You see, there's a certain quality that my sister holds, which has enabled her throughout her entire life to pursue dreams and overcome obstacles, to face fears that many of us would rather just avoid. And it's this quality that I think has brought Kelsey to a place where she's truly seeking God's plan for her life, even if that plan brings her so very many miles away from her childhood home. Mom, Dad, Shannon and Holly, I'm sure you probably already know what I'm getting at here. This quality can be boiled down to one word, a word which, when looked up in the dictionary, is accompanied by a beautiful picture of our dear Kelsey, right below the heading. This quality, this word that so perfectly represents Kelsey is relentless. Defined as showing or promising no abatement of severity, intensity, strength, or pace. I'll use it in a few sentences to help you all understand the context. A mere 3 days after Christmas, 5-year-old Kelsey is relentless in her search throughout the entire kitchen for the extra candy that Santa sometimes leaves behind. Is it on top of the fridge, Mom? Or is it where we keep the bananas, Mom? Ample video evidence of this particular form of relentless questioning is available upon request. Here's another context sentence. Despite the fact that she's getting over a rather nasty stomach bug, teenage Erin finds herself swimming up to the dock at Silver Shell Beach after being relentlessly begged, prodded, pleaded with, and almost pulled out of bed by her adorable sister. Or here's one. On a good many occasions, Kelsey served as the encouraging leader in the Freak Sisters' creative yet quite relentless scheming to convince their parents of the things they desperately needed. One of those notable occasions was the time that we absolutely, positively needed to go to the zoo in February. The hit single is 40 Degrees.
Can we go to the zoo? A great time, too.
I was going to make them beg like Kelsey would, relentlessly, to hear it, but if you want to hear the rest, I guess you guys can just ask, we will just sing it. Performance. There's more. Continue reading through the dictionary definition that is my sister, and you'll read this. Through some of the most difficult and heartbreaking moments that a young woman can be called to endure, Kelsey has relentlessly followed the Lord. Even when it didn't make sense, even when she was angry with him, when she just couldn't understand the why, even then, relentless. If you're here today and you have the privilege of calling Kelsey your friend, then you'll know this one. Throughout high school, college, and beyond, Kelsey has always found herself busy with many, many obligations. Side note, part of me thinks that she just can survive on less sleep than a normal human being, but Peter, whenever you get to know her sleeping habits, let me know if that one's true. Anyway, Kelsey has always been involved in so many great things, but she won't let those obligations get in the way of what matters the most. She is the kind of friend who will relentlessly pursue a closeness of relationship with those she loves. And now the most recent addition to the dictionary definition for Kelsey's relentless nature pertains to her newest role, that of a wife. Peter, here is a sentence just for you. Throughout her life, God has given Kelsey opportunities to stretch herself, to become even more relentless in the things that matter the most. But this opportunity, this role that she'll fulfill as your wife, your Ezer Kenegdo, your perfect helper, I think will open up the door to even deeper levels of relentlessness. She will be relentless in encouraging you to try new things and to become even more of the man that God has intended you to be. She will relentlessly pursue true intimacy and honesty with you as you learn more and more about each other every day. And when the time comes, she will nurture your children with the same relentless love that she learned from her own mother. Peter, my new brother, you found yourself an absolutely beautiful, joyous, life-filled, relentless woman of God. And now I'd like to propose a toast to Peter and Kelsey. Make every day of your lives together, the happy and the sad, the boring and busy, the sunny and rainy. May every day bring you ever closer to an understanding of the relentless love that Jesus has for you. That is, after all, where Kelsey gets it from.
So mine is a little bit less formal than the two that I have seen so far. I can't prepare speeches. I can't make myself read off a piece of paper. So I just want to talk to you guys. And you know, through this you will hear a lot of our best memories. Mine and Kelsey and the cool relationship that I've got to see grow through knowing her and therefore knowing Peter. So Kelsey, our first memory of friendship was shopping for a homecoming dress for Washita homecoming. By the way, we hated it. It was awful. Couldn't find a dress. Terrible. But through that, I think that we found just a funny connection. A fun trip to Little Rock when we were in Arkadelphia, about an hour away. And just a fun night spent together after being angry about not being able to find a daggone dress. Really resulted in one of the most special friendships that I've ever had. You know, I think that you and I met in a time where we were finally, you know, you were healing, and I think that we were both 100% okay not being in a relationship. And I think that that was a really beautiful time in our lives for us to, you know, grow as two single women together. You know, encouraging each other, and laughing with each other and spending every waking moment in my apartment doing homework while you were working on lessons during student teaching, just learning from each other. And I think that one of the biggest things that I learned through that relationship was how two people can really lead one another to Christ just through friendship. And I think that's one of the coolest gifts that God has given us, and I think that y'all can pretty much agree. You know, I think we're the only species on earth that really develop friendships, and so I've seen so much beauty through ours. You know, I've seen so many beautiful things in you that I wanted to pursue myself. You know, I think we can all agree that Kelsey is a joyful person. She is very spirited, she is determined, she is kind, she is loving, she is patient most of the time, which is the same as me, so that's why we make such good friends. But you know, I think that Erin had it right when she said that Kelsey is relentless in chasing what she knows to be true and to be right and to be of value. And the coolest thing that I got to see was when Peter started chasing her with that same relentlessness that she shows in her relationships with others. And so, you know, it was kind of weird for me after this whole time that we had been single girls together for this guy to come in and like invade on my territory as the friend. But I remember Kelsey telling me about Peter for the first time, and the fact that they had met through a church function. And from that moment, like when she said that, and I saw the twinkle in her eye, and the fact that she had talked to this guy who just exuded Christ and love of kids, and like I see that in Kelsey so much. And so, knowing that, she already saw that in this guy that she had met one time, who had asked her on a date, like I guess 2 days later, maybe he did then. Actually. But it was just really cool to see, you know. I think that Kelsey is always good, always trying to chase goodness and trying to be her best. And I think that for those of you that really know Kelsey, she's never not her fullest self. But I saw her become an even fuller self through her relationship with Peter, through his kindness and his patience with her. I love the fact that Kelsey talks about the fact that Peter not only encourages her by lifting her up and saying sweet things, but also calling her out and encouraging her in that way. And I've seen you become a fuller, truer Kelsey through Peter and y'all's relationship. And so I think that's a beautiful reflection of the relationship that we have with Christ. I think that a human in nature chases after what it wants. But when something special comes into play and looks better and improves, I think that the chasing after that thing and chasing after the goodness that can bring into your life is something that I've seen in y'all's relationship. So, Peter, I think, I've seen you make Kelsey laugh more than any human that I've ever met, and that's hard to say because I am Kelsey's friend, and I feel like I'm pretty funny some of the time. I'm sure some of my best laughs with Kelsey, mostly because of her, not because of me, so I'm just giving myself a compliment that may not really mean anything here. But, I see you bring her joy. I see you bring her more kindness and understanding, and I've seen so many things that she's grown in through your relationship and through her relationship with you. And I know that is God working through you to improve Kelsey, and I think that she does the same for you. And so, Peter, I haven't known you for super long, but I think that I probably was Kelsey's friend that she had known the longest when she started this relationship with you, and I've really gotten to see you guys love one another in a beautiful way, and I've seen Christ through that, and I think that everyone in this room can say the same. So, a toast to you guys. I love, and I love seeing you guys love each other. It's a beautiful thing, and I know that you reflect Christ, so a toast to Peter and Kelsey.
But first, I want to thank New Life Church. Everybody here has been super nice and courteous and helpful. This church has been a great influence on Peter and Kelsey, and they've been a great influence on the church. Church is so important. Martha, you raised a sweet. He's such a sweet guy. You know when you like somebody the first day you meet them? Like the moment you meet them? I liked Peter the moment I met him. We were at the grocery store or supermarket, and they had it planned. I never met him before. We Skyped with him, and anyway, they made me go fetch apples or something. So I went and fetched apples. I was up at the checkout counter, and then Peter comes and grabs me from behind, and the checkout lady was about freaking out. And I said, by golly, he reminds me of me. Because that's exactly how I would greet somebody for the first time. And then later that day, Kelsey was moving out of one apartment to another apartment pretty far away. So anyway, it was the last load, and I think it was just Kelsey's bike left. So there wasn't room, and the U-Haul truck was already gone back to where it came from. So, I don't know where it was. Anyway, that part is the important part of the story. The best part of the story is coming up. Heather and Kelsey took the bike to her new apartment, so Peter and I went up to this old apartment. There was no furniture except for an air mattress and a pillow, which is important later in the story. All right? So anyway, it was March Madness time, and Peter was crying about his garbage bracket. We're on the floor. It was funny. He's crying about his garbage bracket. We're on the floor, on the living room floor, on a rug against the wall for like an hour. Kelsey's bracket was crushing his because she picked her bracket based on the color of the uniforms and the mascots, and Peter picked his bracket based on science, sports science, rebounds, win-loss record against common opponents, and he was getting crushed. Anyway, it was kind of fun to listen to him cry. And then my butt was getting completely numb, so I figured it's nap time. So I go and crawl into the mattress, and Peter's butt must have been getting numb too, because he crawled in next to me. And both of us made sure that pillow was between us. And then it gets better than that. Heather and Kelsey come back and see us both sleeping and get a photo. And there's nothing that Peter and I could do to bribe them or pay them the amount of money or take out for dinner, just destroy that photo. But it's out there, it was posted right away. Anyway, it's the first day I met Peter. I love Peter. I love Peter. He is the first, maybe not the first day with Kelsey, but Kelsey was sick and thrown up. That's what marriage is sometimes. You got to be with them, your wife or your husband when they're sick. And anyway, she was sick and he went to see her. And he cleaned up after her. You know, that tells me as a dad, when you raise a little girl, you pray for them. You pray for their husband to love and honor and protect them, because you're not there anymore to protect them. The most precious thing that I have in my life is my wife, my 4 daughters, and now my 3 sons. I've got 3 sons now. I love them all. So Peter's got a lot of great traits. He's fun. He's a fun guy. He's got a good sense of humor, and he's outwardly focused. I mean, the best way to go through life is not to focus on yourself all the time, or even most of the time, or even to focus on other people. It's really the best way to live a life. And Peter does that. So, Kelsey, you know, it's been said that parents should look up to their parents, and they should. But I look up to Kelsey. I always have. She's a strong woman of just character, courage, faith, love, yes, relentlessness, but relentless in all those things that Aaron talked about. So, I mean, she's been wonderful. She's courageous. Her and Aaron, when they were little, like 14 or 15, went to Brazil on a mission trip. You know, she's always looking for other people, towards how to help people. So, you know, she's been just wonderful. And I want to bring out some people that have been an influence on her life, her sisters. You know, I love just to have them, like tonight, breaking out in song. The last 26 years of my life have just been filled with that joy. You know, just joy. You know, Aaron's married, and Shannon's married, and Holly's off to college next year. You know, it's been wonderful. Our friends from CIP that made it all the way here, from near and far, Bill and Rose, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Dawn and Scott have been such a wonderful influence on their lives. My dad and Jamie always been there for our kids. Dad's been a great dad. And Jane, thank you for being there for my dad. My sister, now #1 cousin Claire, all the way from New York. It's not easy to get to Little Rock. It's not. My sons, you know, my mother-in-law Doreen has been the best grandmother to her grandchildren. She's been wonderful. She's been a great mother-in-law to me, and I love her. And my beautiful wife Heather. Heather's like that girl in Oklahoma. I can't say no, because she's made all the bridesmaid dresses, all the little girls, flower girls dresses, every other dress. And then someone from church needs something, and she says, after a night shift, working all night, labor and delivery, says, okay, I'll do it. She's been a great helpmate and a great woman. And this could be the hardest part. Katie and Carly were there for Kelsey during the darkest time that I can imagine. And she was 20 years old in college, having just had a tragedy, and they were there for her. And as a dad, that was the best thing, to know, not what happened, but to know that she had good friends that were going to be there for her, and to pray with her, and to love her through all that. So, thank you all. So now I want to raise a toast, Peter and Kelsey, for long life, happiness, health. God blesses you with 7 children, and with 7 grandchildren. God bless you all. To Kelsey and Peter. All right.
Wow, here I go again. Since this is completely a different crowd, I will start with my disclaimer. I am not a public speaker, and I'm a little terrified at this moment. So please don't be distracted by these notes in my hand. They are so much better than the awkward silence that would be if I didn't have them here. After sharing a few words at Aaron and David's wedding, Kelsey had asked if I would do the same for her and Peter. It all starts with prayer. We have 7-month-old toe-headed daughter Erin, and I'm pregnant with number 2. How will I ever be able to love anyone as much as I love Erin? But then comes Kelsey, and somehow God makes my heart bigger. Kelsey Welsey, or that Kelsey girl, that Kelsey girl. What am I going to do with that Kelsey girl? You bounced into our family 16 short months, not 18 months, 16 short months after your sister Erin. And from the very start, you were ready to take on the world, and we were along for the ride. Walking at 9 months old was a mean trick, but we learned to keep up with you. You and Erin quickly became best friends and spent every waking hour together, but the two of you were so different from each other. Where Erin was careful and timid, Kelsey was raring to go. As you've already heard, relentless is a word often used to describe Kelsey. At times it seemed like a negative trait, like when a parent has to finally resort to the line, "because I said so," or "because I'm the mom." But it's a wonderful quality that has served you very well. Kelsey was an exuberant student in junior and senior high school. She had many interests and wanted to be involved in everything. She played field hockey, joined track and field, was captain of the juggling club, suffered through a year of basketball, even joined the whaleboat team, but loved the game of soccer. She was in drama club and involved in every play. She was part of band and chorus. She was on the debate club. She was in AFS club and a chaperone for Survival for 3 years. She was involved in student government, vice president of her senior class, and president of National Honor Society. Kelsey was very active in our church youth group and was wonderfully influenced by the youth leaders Scott and Don Egan. Scott was the one who played the guitar in this ceremony. And Dawn is the reason she is now a Washita graduate. Dawn also, she came to our church, CIP, as a youth intern, but soon married Massachusetts native Scott Egan, so that's how she became part of our clan. Dawn introduced Kelsey to Washita, and after our visit there, I told Kelsey, if you aren't going to go here, I am. But how does that work into my prayer about keeping you close to home? Kelsey dove into college life with that same relentless spirit. There was some culture shock, but the hardest thing was probably adjusting to spring training for soccer. Kelsey was convinced that spring training in the Arkansas heat might just kill her. But she survived and went on to be part of the team for 2 years. She was also involved in campus ministries and was a leader for 2 years. She was on Team Beyonce basketball, Pterodactyl flag football, did Tiger Tracks, was music director for Tiger Tunes, had a little sister with Big Brother, Big Sister. She volunteered with Special Olympics, and she became the interim children's minister at Park Hill Baptist Church. She served at Give Me a Chance Equine Rescue, where she fell in love with Dylan. Sorry, Peter. Dylan was a horse. Kelsey's time at Washita continued her spiritual growth, and although she was very far from home and family, she gained so many wonderful lifelong friendships. As a mom, I am incredibly thankful for those friends and their families who welcomed my daughter into their homes for Thanksgivings and Easters and other times when time and distance made it impossible for her to be home with us. God allowed Kelsey to have a special bond with a young man named L.J. Brooks. L.J. was an extraordinary young man, and he loved the Lord and was relentless in his walk. The Brooks family loves you, Kelsey, and they always will. My prayers for Kelsey were almost constant. I thank God for the time He gave you and for how you have grown and learned that you can trust God with your life. Trust Him with your heart. Trust Him with the plan He has for you, and trust that His way, although not always easy, is always the best way. Our family had driven the 1,847 miles from Marion, Massachusetts to Arkadelphia, Arkansas to witness Kelsey's graduation from OBU. She was excited to start her next adventure, but hadn't secured a teaching position yet and was not sure where God was leading her. But on the day we were starting our drive home, Kelsey got a call from Little Rock Christian Academy, so we delayed our trip by a day so she could go for an interview. Kelsey has been blessed with a wonderful teaching position at LRCA. Again, Kelsey is surrounded by wonderful Christian colleagues and friends. God has answered my prayer. But I guess she still isn't coming home. Enter tall, dark, handsome. Kelsey starts to mention the name Peter quite frequently during our phone conversations. Is this guy really as great as she is making him out to be? I think I may have mentioned more than once that she should take it slow, not to get ahead of herself. But then she is relentless, and I've learned that I have to keep giving her over to God. After all, He hasn't let me or her down, ever. So after almost 25 years of praying for Kelsey's future husband, I have a name to go by now. Peter Nwokoro. You are an answer to my prayers. It is amazing to me how well you fit into our family. I love your silly, sweet sense of humor. I am thankful for the wonderful job your mom has done to raise you into the fine young man that you are today, especially after the passing of your father when you and your brother were so young. Thank you for loving my daughter, for your promise and your commitment to always do so. My prayers now continue for you both together. May God bless your marriage.